Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Moy Style podcast. Today is just gonna be me. I've been wanting to do this podcast for a while, but I've been interviewing quite a few people, so it's been kind of tough to upload this video. But today's topic is gonna be about the role of the coaches in games. Just uh, we always talk about the role of the coaches in general, but or how to run practices and all that good stuff. But when it comes to coaching in games, I think sometimes, I don't think people or some coaches understand really what their role is in games. So hopefully this can help out some coaches out there, and maybe hopefully I can get some feedback from you guys, and because at the end of the day is to be able to develop this kid to be able to help out as many kids as possible. So the first one is when it comes to the coaches giving signs to the catchers. So especially the ages, and this is going to be more for the ages that are 12 and under, because when it's 12 and under, there's going to be a lot of coaching in baseball. So and I've been coaching for a while now, so I know how it goes. So sometimes we coaches, we end up giving signs to the catchers. We don't ever let the catchers think, which there's nothing wrong with coaches giving signs to the catchers. But I think what's more important is being able to walk them through what you're giving them. Like why you're telling them to throw a fastball in this situation. Why are they throwing off speed in this situation? Why are they throwing inside? Why are they throwing outside? Why are they throwing right down the middle? Right? So it's not just giving them signs, putting fingers down, putting numbers down, because sometimes they could turn into robots, right? So again, at the end of the day, we're trying to develop these kids, and we got to be able to give them a reason why we do the way we're doing it, because you want them to become baseball players, not robots out there. So I think that's pretty important. That's one of the things that I see the most. Again, it's not wrong for the coaches to be giving signs to the catchers, but I think it's important to walk them through it. The next thing that I got here is overcoaching them in the middle of the bat. So if they're going up to bat, and a lot of kids are real nervous when it comes to hitting. They don't trust it yet. They're still pretty young. They're pretty nervous. They don't want to let their teams down. They don't want to let their coaches down. And here we got some coaches just screaming at the batter, "Hey, don't step out. Don't step this way. Don't step that way. Don't jump at the ball. Don't swing up. Your hands are dropping. Your shoulders dropping. Your head's flying open this way." And that's just too much information. I don't think. I mean, in my opinion, like when I was a hitter, when I was playing, I didn't want to have all kinds of mechanical stuff, being told by my coach, because I'm trying to, focus on the at bat, and then you're trying to load me up with a bunch of mechanical stuff. I think that stuff needs to be talked about in practice, maybe before the game a little bit. But I wouldn't get way too mechanical. I coach a lot of youth baseball games, and I see it all the time. The coaches will start, they'll talk about, their hands, talk about their feet, talk about their everything, and it's just too much. I think they need to cut it back to maybe timing, approach, simple stuff like that they can focus on, not something that's like it's gonna tense them up just thinking about mechanics and all that stuff. So I think sometimes we get a little bit overboard with that stuff, and I also see coaches that they see kids swinging at high pitches, right, like way above their head, and they're like, "Hey, you're swinging at this high pitch." Like the kid doesn't know. Yeah, you gotta understand. Like sometimes I think coaches think that the kids are going out there thinking, "I just want to strike out." I don't really think the kids are thinking that. They're just nervous, and sometimes when they swing at high pitches or bad pitches, don't put them down. Like don't make it any worse. Just try to encourage them and just tell them, try to have a better approach on the next pitch, or focus on the next pitch, instead of just yelling at them, "Why did they swing at this pitch? Why did they swing at that pitch?" I think it's too much. I mean, I'm pretty sure those kids out there are not trying to swing at bad pitches. They just, sometimes when they're young, they just end up making mistakes like that. So I think coaches, they need to be a little bit patient. I'm not saying baby the kids, but I think it's important to really give the kids a chance, and then after the at bat, then you can talk to them and try to kind of tell them what you thought about the at bat, what they should have done different, all that good stuff. Not in the middle of it where they're trying to hit the ball. So now the next one is when it comes to coaching defense. Um, I I know sometimes it's kind of tough because there may just be one coach out there, and so he's the one giving signs to the catchers. But I don't honestly myself. I don't like to sit on a bucket and give signs. I used to do that when I first started, but I just feel like at a young age we have to spend more time on developing the kids. And what I mean by this is telling the position players where to play with different hitters. And even if they mess up, it's okay. At least they're trying. But sometimes we just let the kids just play in one position. They don't ever move. And I want them to be able to think like baseball players. I don't want, obviously, mechanics and all that stuff is important. But we have to be able to teach them, hey, when we get a batter this late, we're going to play over this way. We may have to deepen up a little bit. When we get a guy that pulls the heck out of the ball, we're going to have to move over this way. When we get a lefty, the ball may tail this way, so we may have to cut the distance this way. Whatever the case may be, but you have to really be constantly talking to the kids in the middle of the game. Now, sometimes, and I've done it myself, sometimes I get to the point where I'm overcoaching, like way too much information, loading them up with way too much information. But, we as coaches, we have to start learning, what's too much and what needs to be told out there. Because a lot of these kids, they don't, maybe they haven't been taught this before, or maybe it just, they don't think through before the play happens. So we have to be constantly reminding them. So, for instance, when you got bases loaded, right? I see this a bunch. They have their whole infield in, and then we forget to tell the pitcher, ground ball to you, make sure you go full right here. Because sometimes the pitchers, they're thinking so much about throwing strikes that they get a ground ball, the first thing they're thinking is throwing to first. And so they forget to throw it to home plate. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but I'm just giving you a simple example here. So now, when it comes to positioning them, I think it's important because sometimes we get frustrated with the pitcher because it's giving up hits and all that stuff. But if we just kind of move our kids a little bit more this way, a little bit more that way, we give ourselves a better chance to make more plays. And at the same time, you're teaching them how to play different batters. And it's not only, like I tell my players, I tell them, don't just rely on me telling you to move this way, move that way. I want you to also pay attention why I'm telling you what I'm telling you. And obviously it's my job as a coach, when they come back, hey, we're playing this batters this way for this reason. We're playing that batter this way for this reason. So they start to understand, and eventually you want them to just do it on their own, and you don't have to sit out there and be yelling at them, hey, you got to move this way, a couple steps this way, deepen up a little bit, cut the distance a little bit, all that stuff. So that to me is part of the whole development thing when it comes to baseball, developing baseball players. I don't know that they're going to know it right off the bat. I think if we can coach them up at a young age, it'll start to click as they get older. So now, when it comes to the outfielders, same thing. I know I said defense, but obviously that covers infielders, outfielders, catchers as well. But we got to be able to tell them why we're moving them certain ways. And then let them also mess up on their own. So like sometimes I tell our outfielders or our infielders, hey, go ahead and make a move. If you think these guys are late and you think they're going to be hitting more this way, then go ahead and move that way. And if you're wrong, it's okay. At least they're trying. The last thing you want them to do is be out there, because sometimes baseball could be long. I mean, it could take long in between innings, between pitches. And there's a lot of time for us to space out. So if we give them an opportunity to mess up, and then, but to me, if they're trying, I think it's that goes a long ways. That's more important to me than just standing still in one spot the whole time. Now, the other thing before I forget here, I got my notes here, is the catchers, right? So I know I talked about initially about when we're giving signs to the catchers, but I think it's important to teach the catchers, how to obviously respect the game. But when you go up to before the game starts, just shake the umpire's hands. I'm sure a lot of people know this, but little things like that goes a long ways. And also, you want to teach the your catchers how to talk to the umpires, right? So like when we feel like that he's just not giving us this much, then you kind of want to ask him, hey, was that a little bit outside? Was that a little bit low? Where are we at here? Stuff like that. So you want them to feel comfortable talking to the umpires in the middle of the game, so they keep that good communication between the catcher and the umpire, because I think that goes a long ways, and obviously that shows them a little bit of respect too, and how to control the game too behind the plate. When it comes to base running, there's another thing that I see a lot. So sometimes we yell. I don't like yelling. I might get onto a kid, but I'm not gonna embarrass them out there. I'm not saying that I've never made mistakes, but there are some coaches out there that can get real intense, and they're constantly yelling at the kids on when they're the base path, and I don't think it's necessary to get that crazy to be screaming at the kids when I feel like sometimes we forget as coaches to remind the runners how many outs we got, and not only that, but what do we have to do? So let's say we got a runner on second base, so we're running a second base, right? So there's a deep fly ball, we got nobody out, so we're telling them, hey, nobody out here, deep fly ball. Remember, we're tagging on here, ground ball here to the left side. Make sure we hold, make sure it gets through, stuff like that, right? We got one out, deep fly ball. Make sure we read it. So little things like that, I think we have to really continuously emphasize to our players, because a lot, again, just like hitting, a lot of the players will freeze in the moment. So the ball will be hit and they don't know what to do. So they don't know whether to go this way, whether to go that way, and the coaches are screaming, the parents are screaming, everybody's screaming, so the kid's nervous. Instead of us reminding them constantly before the play happens, hey, we got nobody out, hey, we got one out, make sure in a fly ball we do this, make sure in a ground ball we do this, anything to the right side we go, stuff like that. So I think that gives them a better chance, a better opportunity to be more successful as a base runner. So I think that's pretty important. Now, let me kind of back it up a little bit. So before the game, just about every coach out there does the same routine where, they got the outfielders back there and they have the infielders in. So I'm talking about before the game. So the coaches will hit a fly ball to the outfield. The outfielder throws it to the cutoff man. He throws it back to the coach that's catching it. I tried my best, and I'm not saying I got it all figured out. I'm not saying that you have to do it my way, but sometimes I think before the game, those are the best because sometimes we don't have time to practice that many times during the week. We don't get that many hours during the week to practice. I mean, there might be some teams that practice 5 days out of a week. Like my teams, we practice twice a week. But also, I think we got to be able to come up with different ways to get them ready. Not just the same old hitting fly balls to the outfielder and then throwing it back to the infield, then to the cutoff, and then throwing it back in, taking ground balls, throwing it back to the coach. Like what I normally do, and I'm not saying you have to do this, I'm just giving you examples here. So like I literally grab I bring my throw down bases. I mean, they're not very heavy, so I just bring it with me in my bag. And so I basically shape it like a diamond. So I go from the one corner, it doesn't matter if I'm going from the right field side or the left field side. I shape it from the corner of the outfield. So I use the foul line to use it as a diamond. So we're kind of shaped, I don't know if you can see it this way, but I'm shaping like an infield. And so I put a first base over there, put second base over there, put third base, and then I put the infielders there. And you can maybe have one coach hitting fly balls to the outfielders, and then we can have one coach working with the infielders. So instead of just catching the ball and throwing it to a coach, now they're actually fielding ground balls. They're throwing across the infield to first base. They're working on double plays and all that good stuff. So it doesn't really take that much room. You have plenty of room out there to be able to do that stuff. And then when it comes to outfield, you could come up. I mean, again, you can come up with whatever you want to come up with. We just gotta be thinking of ways to make it to where it's beneficial for the kids, not because that's the way it's being done forever, But you can have, one group on this side, one group on this side, and we can tell them, hey, the guys on this side, you just pretend like you're a center fielder, right? So you got priority over this group. So any ball that's hit this way and you think you got it, call them off. And now we have also a guy in the middle. He could be the cutoff man instead of just throwing it to a coach. And then there's another guy that's next to the coach that's catching it and working on tag. So everybody's always doing something, and we're also working on stuff that we need to work on the field instead of just doing the same old fly balls, ground balls, and that's it. And then they come in, that's about it. So we could come up with a bunch of different ways. I'm not gonna sit here and give you all the things that we do or we mix up, but those are a couple examples that I can give you. Another one that you can do is, and I'm sure you've seen it in colleges, when they're warming up, you can work on rundowns. So we don't have to have a runner, just kind of working on the rundown, saying ball, 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 and learning how to catch, gaining momentum right before they catch the ball. Also, when they're playing catch, you can have them, once they do their routine, you can cut the distance and now have them work on cutoffs. So they can do all that stuff. So you can mix it up however you want to do it. You can even do base running instead of doing just defensive stuff. You can do base running too. You can take your throw down bases, and now we're working on random first base, working on second base, all that good stuff. So there's a bunch of different ways of doing this. At the end of the day, we want to maximize the time that we're out there instead of just getting loose out there with not really any purpose. I think those are the notes that I have so far. Hopefully I didn't forget anything, and if I happen to remember, I kind of bring it up here towards the end. But one thing that I also want to mention before I forget, and I see this a bunch, where sometimes we want to teach our players not to be front runners, but when we're having a bad tournament or a couple of bad tournaments, I feel like sometimes the coaches will walk away and they just literally don't. And I see sometimes I look at third base side and there's not a coach there, just because the coach is frustrated. They want to sit on their chairs. They're mad, and you gotta understand, right? These kids will make mistakes, but you're the leader. You're the one that's you're the captain of the team. So you have to be able to encourage these kids and teach them how to bounce back. Because if I see my coach, giving up on my team, just kind of going down and sitting down because things are not going our way, whatever the case may be, we're just not winning games, then obviously I'm not gonna really respect you as a coach. That's just my opinion. I just think, especially with the younger ones, we don't want to, make them feel like, they're a disappointment out there. At the end of the day, this game is supposed to be fun, but it's kind of hard for the game to be fun when you're giving up on your own players. And I'm not just saying this just to say it, but I see a lot where the coaches just give up on the players, and I don't think that's fair. And also before I forget too, right? So when you're coaching T-ball, 8U, 9U, especially coach pitch and T-ball, like I go to many different tournaments. Sometimes we're playing right by those little fields, and some of these coaches are getting a little bit out of line and just screaming at the kids. And I'm not saying we want to baby these kids, but we also want to be able to make them feel like the game is supposed to be fun. But a lot of coaches talk about the game being fun, but it's hard to have fun when you have a coach just screaming at your face, in front of you, or screaming at you, or screaming at you in the middle of the play, telling them where to throw the ball. It's real difficult to have fun that way. So I think we need to kind of cut it back a little bit and understand that the kids are gonna make mistakes. And I've made mistakes myself as a coach, and I don't have other people yelling at me in my face. So just understand that you're gonna make mistakes too, whether you want to admit it or not. I think that's about it. What I've had, what I got so far. Yeah, I think that's it. So if you guys really like this this topic, I would love it if you can comment below and tell me what you think, your style of coaching. Again, I'm not saying I got it all figured out, but I try to kind of point out the things that I see the most and I feel like will benefit the kids the most. And if you have any topics that you would like me to talk about, or you know, anything that you would like me to bring up and kind of explain on a video, I'd be more than happy to do that. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and remember, keep it Moy Style. Hey guys, Moy Style Baseball here. If you're interested in having me come out to your city for a fielding camp or a hitting camp, or if you're in the Oklahoma area and you're looking for private lessons or group lessons, you can shoot me a text at 251-509-3815. You can also email me at moystyle33@gmail.com. Keep it Moy Style.